Okay, everyone. Sorry, a little late. As I always say, I'm the only person who's not allowed to be late, but that's just kind of how way it worked out tonight. How is everybody doing? And it is the live show for what is the May 11th, 2022. And you know what that means? Today is a Friday the 13th. And yes, the episode will come out that day anyway. So it was a beautiful day here in Clearwater Beach, Florida. Sat out there on the balcony getting some work done today. And man, I was sitting inside doing some work, and kind of everything just kind of rushed up on me um, fairly fast. And so this is why the live show for tonight got started a couple minutes late. And of course, before I get started, you know how I like to remind all of you, whenever you're watching this, give this a thumbs up. You know this live show is going to be good. It should be after having done this show for like 4.5 years now. Just give it the thumbs up right now as you're just tuning in or you're just starting to watch this in the replay. Just do it now. If you're not yet a subscriber, I think it would be weird that you're watching this live show, but you're not a subscriber. But I guess some of you exist out there. The subscribe button is right there. And of course, be sure to hit the little button so when we upload new videos or the live show starts, you will be alerted immediately. And then finally, if you're seeing all these people with these green names, Delane, Linda, K-Dog, Kathy, Crimson, well, that's Crimson Topaz, etc. If you're wondering, well, how can I get a green name too? All you have to do is hit the join button down here, become a member at this channel for the low price of 10 cents a month. 10 cents, even in these inflation period of 2022. It's only 10 cents a day. And if you hit that join button, you will find out everything that you get for that. A lot of interesting things in there. I think it's a pretty good deal. So let's see who is in here, and we'll get right into this show. Hello, Linda. Linda, not only did she make it, she was first. Hello, Karen. Hello, Jasmine. Hello, Paula. Valerie. Everyone I missed last week, excited for this one. Okay, Valerie, I'll be sure not to let you down. Hello, Kathy. Delane. K-Dog, how are you doing tonight? And Crimson Topaz, hello. Twinkle, the Real from Australia says, hi, everyone. Not sure how long I'm here for. Power out, everything running on battery. Wow, what is going on in Australia, the Real? That you lost your power. Thank you for moderating tonight, Cherie. And let's see who else. Moana, hello, everyone. Hello, DLV. Jill says, sup. Sup to you, Jill. All right. Well, my hair's looking okay. As some of you know, maybe we'll just start here. That and so I know many of you follow my personal Facebook page. That my dad, I can't say I'm surprised, but my dad said he was going to be here for like a month. I knew he wouldn't be here that long just because I know how he is. But remember, we just got here last Tuesday morning, 11:30 a.m. or something last Tuesday, which would have been May 3rd. On Sunday morning, he got up and came over and knocked on my door at about 10 a.m. on Sunday. Opened it. He goes, you want to help me bring this stuff down to the car? I'm going home. What? It's just the way he is. So I helped him bring the stuff downstairs to his car. He loaded it all up. I made sure that he was of his right mind. Uh, I wouldn't necessarily say I tried to stop him or anything. I tried to talk some sense into him, but we just wanted to make sure that he had his GPS on his phone, the Waze app set up correctly to guide him the whole way back to Pennsylvania, which is like 1,100 miles. And he left. And he's very impulsive like that. I think the longest that he has ever stayed with me down here is maybe 2.5 weeks. And that was like maybe the first time he came down here in late 20, or the second time maybe in late 2019. And each time gets shorter and shorter. Maybe it's me. But he left at around 10:30 on Sunday morning, and he made it back to Pennsylvania to where he lives at about 5:30 on on Monday. So he drove all day Sunday, stopped at a motel, slept, got up Monday morning, drove the rest of the way. No problem. 85 years old, all by himself. Not sure what he listened to. He has satellite radio in this car and everything else. But he took off. So I think it's a variety, I guess it is impressive, Shuri. I suppose it is. But I think what it is I'm much more adaptable than my dad is. I, of course, went up there and stayed there for 38 days. I wouldn't say it was the best 38 days of my life, but I'm fairly adaptable. I take the computers with me, I take the microphone with me, and I can still get work done. And as you know, episodes continued to get done while I was up there. Dad is a little more set in his ways. He likes things a certain way. In fact, I would even go to say that he's probably OCD and a bunch of other things. And so if things aren't quite the way he wants them, he gets to be very, very uncomfortable. And I think that's just what was going on here. I think also it was a factor of right around the timing of him coming down here, his next door neighbor was getting out of the hospital having knee surgery, and my dad really wanted to help him out. And because this guy had helped my dad out, has helped my dad out a lot. And then my dad was coming down here, to be with me a while. So I think that was a factor. I think also might have been a factor. He has his friend Dottie, who she was leaving, and she went down to North Carolina for just a week. And so she was going to be going back. And I think there was that. And the issue is that, he doesn't have any friends, down here. And I have to work. And sometimes I think that he has an unreasonable expectation about how much I can just put to the side so I can entertain him, I think. And I just can't do that. He's the one that's retired. I am not. In fact, he's been retired for 29 years. I work every day. He was a teacher. He worked his schedule, and for mine back then, my work is 24/7. And so it all happened, and he got back fine, and I guess he's doing fine. I did not talk to him yesterday. I did not talk to him today. If he wants to talk, he'll call me. I'm sure everything's fine, but he was telling people how excited he was to come down and see me and everything. But, those things can change quite fast. I also think, on top of everything else, is that he was Florida is not an expensive place, and in fact, our gas is cheaper than it is in Pennsylvania. But I think my dad thought he was going to come down here and we were going to be able to go to some of these restaurants that are out here near the beach, and he was going to be able to eat for maybe $15 a person or something. Well, we went to dinner at a place called Wahoo's, which is down in Indian Rocks Beach. And he and I both got grouper sandwiches, and they were $25 a piece. The bill ended up being like $60 or something. And, then I think he went to Publix to do some shopping, and it wasn't what he expected there. Things out here near the beach are just a little more expensive. And so I think that, he just felt totally out of his element and everything else. And that's all what culminated in, I think on Sunday morning, he says, I'm out of here. I don't know what I do. Of course, I think I maybe said this last week. As soon, we got down here, we drove down here. I did all the driving overnight. We got here about 11:30 last Tuesday. And within 10 minutes of him stepping in my place, he called me a hoarder, which couldn't be any further thing for the truth. I really haven't bought anything for over a year. And the things he was looking at, like in this closet that's right behind the computer here, there's a closet right on the other side here. He was looking in there and looking at all the stuff I have. And I had to tell him, a lot of those things you're looking at are things that you gave me that I didn't want. These boxes that you gave me with stuff in them are stuff that you insisted that I take back to Florida. So if you want them back, you can have them. So those were the kind of conversations I had with him while he was here. But I think, I don't know if this is so unusual. I mean, there was plenty of stories from my friends of their parents coming to visit, and it's family, and they can maybe wear out their welcome fast. I would not say that my dad did that. As I like to remind everybody, so everybody understands that the only reason I live in the place that I do is because after my mother died, my dad insisted that I move to a place with a second bedroom, because where I was living in Madeira Beach, there was just one bedroom. Why? So he could come down and hang out. So this is the reason I live in this place now. And this is the reason that he pays part of the rent here. That was his idea, not my idea. So there's that. So he's gone. I don't know when I'll see him again. Probably, I plan to go play PDGA Worlds for 40 years older and older in Peoria, Illinois in July. So I'm thinking I'll drive up there for that. And then after that, I will head over to Pennsylvania and see him. So July 17th, July 18th. That, I might be doing that. It'll probably be the next time that I see him. Whether he'll ever come down here again, I have no idea. But yeah, he's gone. I'm back to living back by myself. And one of the things this does offer is for me to now take a look at where everything is situated. As you can tell, everything is still here. I'm still in my bedroom. I haven't moved anything back to that other bedroom yet. And I don't know if I'm going to do that. Now, I will tell you, I do feel a little weird doing this live show from my bedroom. It's like, my Hugh Hefner or something. So this is probably going to get moved. I just didn't get around to doing it yet. But this is probably going to get moved back over there. But we'll just have to see. Maybe there's a way I can do some interior design in this place to make this a better setup than it was before. Maybe I can use this moving around of everything, being that my dad was here, to move some stuff around. And maybe next week, when we do this live show next week, It won't be this background. I won't be over in the other bedroom. I might set up somewhere else. We'll just have to see. So that's what's going on here. So now that I'm done with that diatribe, let me see what everybody is saying. The Real says power might be out. It might have been the weather because it's really pretty wild here. Turns out it was a planned outage, though. Wow. Planned outage. That's weird. Jill says, hey, all, I may leave early. Birthday party for the kiddo. Look at you, Jill. Happy birthday to the kiddo. Linda says, Dad, Denzel is a gangster. Yeah, he's a warrior, road warrior. Absolutely. Twinkle says, so glad Dad made it back. That is really scary to think about. He wasn't scared. You know, I called him a couple times while he was driving, and I don't know. He made me sound like I was bothered just that I was checking up on him. Delane says, glad I didn't know he left driving after I dealt with my dad. I would have been very, very, very concerned. Yes, Delane, you've told me about your dad. I just really didn't have a lot of fear there. Really didn't. He's perfectly capable of driving himself around, even around here. Just in the few days he was here, he went driving places and, you know, he comes right back. It's no big deal. DFT says, hi, Ed, I tried to email you, but I'm not sure you got it. There was an article in my local paper about a recent search of 3 bodies of water for Audrey Herring. I did get the email. Unfortunately, it was behind a paywall, DFT, but I'm going to be talking about that tonight anyway, but thank you for checking in. Thank you for sending that. It's just that I couldn't read it because you needed to pay. Valley, yep, same. I would have worried till I knew he was safely home. Paula, was he there long enough to go to trivia? He was. He did go to trivia last Thursday, and we came in second. So that was nice. Linda, you live near me. I saw that search. Okay. Hello, Melissa. Hi, everyone. Ann and Mel are here. Hello, Melissa. Melissa's back. Are you watching on the big screen, Melissa? Are you doing that? I haven't seen you in here for a while. Am I on the big screen? And Hugh Hefner, Sharon laughs. Well, the fact is, Sharon, is that, sometimes I do work from my bed. I'm not gonna lie about that. Probably more podcasters than do that. I do a lot of the writing in my bed. I do, it's a very place, even before I started doing Unfound, when I was doing a lot of fiction writing, that's where I would write. So when it comes to doing Unfound, writing scripts, doing any investigating, going to databases and things, a lot of times that's where it happens. It's either here or I'm out in the balcony. And then when it gets too hot out there, I'll come into the kitchen table. But for live purposes, actually getting together with all of you, it does feel a little weird. But once again, if you're watching, give this the thumbs up. Of course, the only way you could give it a thumbs up is if you're watching. So is that an oxymoron or overkill or something? Give this video a thumbs up as you're watching. Let's see here. Twinkle says, maybe you can transform your bedroom into a den, just like have a fold out bed in there. Well, you have to remember, Twinkle, I don't own any of the furniture in here. This computer desk is mine, but hardly anything else in this chair that I'm sitting in is mine, but pretty much everything else is not mine. So I'm limited, and I would never get rid of this bed because it's fantastic. It's just like the best bed ever. Cherie says, maybe live from the balcony. There is a thought. Maybe, Cherie, maybe I can make that work for next week. We'll have to see how. Might have to do a little practice to get that all set up, Cherie, but I can't rule that out. Maybe I'll do that. Okay. I wonder why the paywall I don't subscribe. I can't explain it to you, DFT. All I know is I went there and it would let me read that article for like 30 seconds and then it went away. DLV, Ed, why did your dad insist on you flying up to pick him up to drive him down to Florida when he seemed to have no issue with driving back to PA on his own? DLV, it's complex. Well, it's a thing that he wants to have his own car here. And he wants it's so he always comes down here with the greatest of intentions. He's going to go fishing, he's going to do this, he's going to do that, and he packs his car as if he's going to do those things. And then he doesn't. So that's why. Linda, yeah, I feel like that's a rabbit hole. Oh, I forgot that the furniture wasn't yours. Yeah, Twinkle. Yeah, balcony. Delane says balcony would be awesome. I'm gonna have to think about that. Of course, I have another week to kind of make that come together. I have a new outlet out there to plug stuff into, so I could certainly bring the strip out there, the lights, and everything. The issue would be, do you want it's usually way dark by now. And how loud would this be? And are there the neighbor? There's nobody in these condos next to me, so I'm gonna think about it. Thank you, Cherie. I'm gonna maybe have to do a little practicing. Maybe Cherie might. Maybe we could talk about doing a little practice with that this weekend, Cherie. The wind might be an issue. Maybe it can be windy out there. It would just depend on the day. But it really doesn't, the weird thing about this building is it can be really, really windy out there, but you can sit on the balcony and it's really not that windy. It's really not. So maybe. Valerie, why did you move to Florida originally? I forget. I kind of felt like I got in a rut in Las Vegas. Even now, though, retrospectively, I do miss the city. I've said that more than once on this show and elsewhere. I do miss the city. I have a lot of friends who are still there. It's an exciting place. The biggest complaint I have about living where I live now, and probably only complaint, is it's just a little slow. Most of the people who live in this building, who come down to stay in this building, or older people. I mean, I'm not joking when I say that probably at 51 years old, I'm one of probably the youngest people who lives in or stays in this building. I didn't know that when I moved in, and maybe I shouldn't be surprised, because if you want to buy one of these condos, they aren't cheap. So it's just a little slow. And in fact, I've actually thought about maybe I couldn't do it this time around, but when my lease comes up next April/May, that depending on my monetary situation, and we'll see what inflation does in the markets and everything else, if I don't move from here, I could certainly entertain moving to a different building that maybe was actually up there in Clearwater Beach, where all the stuff goes on, where it's always jumping up there. So I've thought about that. So we'll see. But that's the main complaint I have. It's just a little slow. And even when I go out to the balcony here and there's the beach right down there and everything, there will be a lot of people out there, but only really during the weekends. So it's just a little slow compared to what I was used to in Las Vegas. So that was kind of it. To answer your question, Valerie. Cherie says, I wish there was some wine here in South Texas. There was some wind here in South Texas. Really feels like 101 today. It was like 90 here today. Delaney, you like the weather, wait a minute and it'll change. Yes. So that's all about that. Or maybe next year I'll just move back to Vegas. Who knows? And maybe rent a condo in one of their high-rise there. And instead of having a view of the beach, I'll have a view of the Strip or something, because those places do exist out there. All right, moving on. Listen, we're almost a half hour into the show already. Believe it or not, I won another disc golf tournament this weekend. Nobody is more surprised than I am. Saturday morning over at my local course of Taylor. We teed off at around 9:30, played with a nice group of people. Same people that I played with like 5 weeks ago on the same exact course. And I think there were 7 or 8 guys in my division. And once again, I tied for first place. But I shot one throw better than I did last month. So it felt good. Was actually 4 under par at one time, but finished at 2 under, which is still very good. I'll take that anytime on that course, especially for an officially rated round. It was a very nice day. It was a great day to play. My dad did go over there with me and kind of hung out. I introduced him to some of my friends who were over there. But I have another tournament this weekend down at Maximo, which is way down at the southern tip of the county. I actually went down there and practiced on Monday. I've played that course many times. When I lived in Madeira Beach, I lived a lot closer to that course, so I would go to that course a lot more than I do now. Now, it takes me like 45 minutes to get there. So many lights to get over to the highway. So I'll be going down there this weekend, and we'll see if the streak can continue. I've played in 4 tournaments so far this year, and I've won 3 in my division. Now, granted, a couple of those were ties, but still they count as wins. So I'm doing okay here in 2022. Nobody is more surprised than I am. Delane, where I am in North Carolina, the mantra is, if you don't like the weather, wait a minute, it'll change. Yes, Valerie, I get that's why I can't move. Hello, Stitching. What's going on, Stitching? Cherie says, that's funny, Ed. You knew I meant wind. You're a true friend. Wine is a good option too, though. Well, I read it, and I said, I wish there was some wine here in South Texas. Really felt like 101 today. And so I started thinking, would wine really make you feel cooler? And I thought, no, probably wine would make you feel hotter. And so I reread it. It was like, I think she meant wind. But if you meant wine, that would have been funny. Sure, that would have been a good one. So that's what's going on with disc golf. But after this coming weekend, I'm not due to play in an official tournament until July. And that will be in Peoria, Illinois, for what they call Masters World. So everybody 40 and over who has enough points from the preceding year can go there and play. I've signed up. I'm going to be staying at the house, coincidentally, one of my best friends. We've been best friends since college. He just happens to live in Peoria, Illinois, and he's graciously opened up his house to me. So that should be fun. I haven't seen him since maybe 2016. He was down here with his family. They went to Disney, and then they flew out of Tampa. So I drove over there and met them at the Tampa airport, and we hung out before they left. So it'll be good to see him and his wife and his kids again. And that, like I said, they've graciously, said, yeah, well, we'd love to have you. And so that'll be great. So that'll be July 12th through the 16th that I will be in Illinois. But after this weekend, that'll be my next registered rounds. I'll probably be playing. I might go to clubs, maybe play doubles, but nothing that'll be what they call officially rated rounds, as according to the Professional Disc Golf Association, PDGA. So it's a little more laid back than it'll be a little more laid back play until July comes around. But that'll be a big deal because there is a cut. And I'll have to go up there and look at these 2 courses. I've, of course, never played them before. And I'd like to get a little revenge due to me playing so horribly at Orlando. last Worlds last August, which really that was the tournament that finally made me say, you know what? I'm going to go talk to a sports psychologist about all of this. That was the tournament that really did it. And she has certainly helped. In fact, after I won on Saturday, I sent her an email thanking her for, this turnaround that I've had in my game over the last few months. I've not seen her since December. So, so that's what's going on in the disc golf world. We've had some beautiful days here. I've been going out, starting work out here at about 11 in the morning, and I will be out there sitting on the balcony because the sun's over on this side of the building, and then eventually gets over there. But until then, it's nice and cool, and I'll do work out there. And then about 3 o'clock, it starts to get a little warm, too warm to work in, so I'll then come inside. But as I continue to say, these are the days, these days are the reasons people live in Florida. It's not because of July and August. It's because of that time between like February and May or September to November. Those are the reasons that people move to Florida and want to live here, because these days it's just crazy nice. Crazy nice. And I'm also wondering, before I get into the items for tonight, and I have a bit of reading, a lot of news stories to read tonight. Has anybody gone and seen Doctor Strange 2 yet? I'm just going to keep it simple. Doctor Strange 2. How did you like it? I've not seen it yet. I'm a huge MCU fan, Marvel Comics Universe fan. I've seen all of the other movies. Oh no, I didn't. You know what? I didn't see the last Superman or Spider-Man movie. Did not see it yet. So I guess I have some catching up to do. But I was a huge fan of all of those movies. And I'm wondering if anybody has gone to see Doctor Strange Part 2 yet, with the Scarlet Witch in there, and what you thought of it. If you have any thumbs up, thumbs down, somewhere in between, feel free to tell me and tell everybody else what you thought of the movie, being that I guess it's making a lot of money right now. One more thing before we get into the items for tonight. You see that little gray square with the dollar sign in the middle? That is the super chat. If you'd like to monetarily contribute to Unfound while you're watching live tonight, please do so. Any contribution would be welcome. Would be welcomed. Valerie says, "Will this be your first time in Illinois?" Let me think about that. I don't think so, Valerie. I think that the first time I ever drove across the United States, when I moved from Pennsylvania to Nevada, I drove through Illinois to get there. Pretty sure. And then I think that once or twice in those flights that I used to take from Las Vegas back to Pittsburgh, that once or twice we landed at Midway or O'Hare Airport as a changeover. That's about it, Valerie. That's about it. So moving on, as you know, I like to always start the items, items portion of the live show, talking about the poll that was in the discussion group from the weekend before. And this involved the disappearance of Alice Crawford, asking, what do you think happened? He disappeared. Was it planned? Was it an accident? Or did Doug go off all on his own? Did he disappear all on his own? And the answer that won was, in the think tank anyway, was that it was planned. So we could believe that this Kanan guy, Frida, maybe other people set Doug up somehow and planned his disappearance to rip him off for something. That was the most popular answer in the poll in the think tank. Probably not surprised that in the discussion group, I should say, that was the answer. But in the think tank, at patreon.com/Unfound Podcast. We're always accepting new think tank members there. You should think about it. You should consider it. You get to talk about in depth the disappearance that was covered that week. And you get a bunch of other things that are special to that membership level to get into the think tank. So patreon.com/Unfound Podcast. On the think tank, it was a little bit more mixed. And the discussion group, pretty clear that the most popular opinion was that that Doug had been set up somehow for some reason. In the think tank, though, a little more mixed, which is very common. And then for me, I write a blog every week on patreon.com/Unfound Podcast. I devote at least 3,000 words to every episode that comes out. Usually I didn't write a blog for like the update episode because I don't think that would be relevant. But I wrote over 3,000 words about Douglas's disappearance. And in it, a large part of that was talking about why isn't stranger on stranger crime more common than it is? Of course, we know that people who know each other are more likely to commit crimes against each other. So stranger on stranger crime is in the minority. Well, why is that? What are the qualities of stranger on stranger crime that make it less likely to happen than between people who know each other? And so I picked out 3 specific reasons and talked about those and then applied them to Douglas's disappearance, because it seems that Douglas did not know those people who we talked about so much in the interview that I did. This Jose Cano Sr. and this woman, Frida. There is no evidence that Doug knew these 2 people at all, but somehow they ended up being right in the middle of this disappearance. So that was what I wrote about in the Douglas Crawford poll. I think I wrote about 3,400 words. And the way I usually do that is I write about 1,000 words a day starting on Friday. And I can crank out 1,000 words pretty quickly. Puma says, don't forget to hit the thumbs up. That is true. I give you a thumbs up, Puma, for reminding everybody for people to give the thumbs up. Thank you for doing that, Puma. Sharon says, you know what I was waiting for, / give it gusto. I do that, Sharon. Patreon.com / Unfound Podcast. So thank you, Sharon. You are very generous. What Sharon has done is hit the super chat button, the little square with the $sign in the middle, and that goes to us continuing the program. Any donation is welcomed. So that was the Crawford poll. And of course, we will have another poll coming up this weekend for this coming Friday's disappearance. And I will talk about that at the end of this live show. And I know many of you have watched this live show before, so you know it's coming. All right, moving on. And being that one of the commenters, one of the chat people has already mentioned it, DFTBA and DS. I'm not going to say all that. So DFT brought up about Audrey Herons and this new search. It's like I said, it's amazing. I do an update episode, and then right after that, all these things start happening. But anyway, I'm just going to read this article to you, and then I will do a little commenting on it. This is from Dateline is Kingston, New York. It's been almost 20 years since Audrey Heron vanished without a trace after ending her shift as a nurse at the Columbia Green Long-Term Healthcare Center. The last time the 31-year-old mother of 3 was seen, she was headed toward her 1994 Jeep Grand Cherokee at about 11 p.m. on August 29th, 2002. And if everybody's new here, we covered this disappearance at the beginning not long ago, within the last, 4 months or something like that. Immediately after Heron's disappearance, police and volunteers conducted ground searches by retracing her possible routes home. They covered about 120 miles of roads and trails, but were unable to locate Heron or the vehicle she was driving. Over the ensuing years, Heron's family members have held vigils. Her disappearance has been featured on podcasts and in true crime stories on network television, and police have followed up on any leads, to no avail. On Thursday, May 5th, the state police renewed their effort to locate her, acting on a tip. The state police at Catskill and the New York State Police Underwater Recovery Team searched Mars Lake and Potuck Reservoir, which are both located on Schoharie Turnpike in Earlton and a portion of the Catskill Creek in South Cairo. It was, though, another dead end. No evidence or information was developed from this search. Heron was described at the time of her disappearance as white, 5 feet tall, and 105 pounds, while she was short, with hazel eyes and light brown hair. She was last seen wearing green medical scrubs and a blue turtleneck top. Anyone with information regarding Heron's disappearance should call the New York State Police Bureau of Criminal Investigation in Catskill at 518-622-8600. All right. So as you heard in this article, and you should know there are many, many articles written about this new news, and I'm of course not going to read all of them. I just kind of picked one of them, but I'm sure you will find different ones that maybe have a little bit more information, a little bit less information. Maybe they go more in depth into the history of her disappearance, or maybe they do less. But this article, I think, was pretty par for the course, pretty the standard article that has been written about this recent search. Now, you know how I feel about tips that come in 20 years later. I guess you could say that maybe tips are the only way a lot of these disappearances are going to get solved. If nobody's talking about it, if nobody knows anything, then how is a disappearance going to get solved? I think that's a good point. I think it's also the reason that our perception is that so many disappearances, old disappearances, get solved by luck. Now, as you know, Adventures with Purpose is kind of changing that a little bit. They're certainly not finding all those cars with people in them by luck. Certainly not. Of course, the problem is that the disappearances they're solving, and it's all great, those are like 2% of over all disappearances. People disappearing with their cars, a very small percentage. And I keep saying, when it comes to all of Unfound's disappearances, including Esther Westenbarger's, including Eric Franks's, that we've maybe covered 8 out of 200, maybe 9, 10 out of 250 disappearances. That's it. Jeff Joseph, Donald Irwin, Harry Milligan, Audrey Heron. Of course, Esther Westenbarger's was solved. Franks's is kind of solved. Jansen Brewer and Daniel Braden, that truck that they were in, that's never been found. But there are not many. But if a car isn't involved, most of the time, if it's going to get solved, unfortunately, it's maybe going to be done by luck. So when tips come in, of course, they don't say exactly what the tip is. It very well could be, this is just an example, that someone could have listened to the Unfound episode, because it wasn't that long ago that we covered her disappearance, and maybe heard me comment on it on this live show afterwards, stating maybe I put this out in the public that she went home, maybe she took a different direction home, and maybe somebody takes that as a tip. Somebody out there thinks, well, that sounds like a good idea, and then they convert it into something that sounds believable, and then the police act on it. Possible. I don't know that. but this is sometimes how things work. So it's really not built on anything but somebody's opinion. Now, of course, we know nothing was found. Now, I'm going to stick to what I said, what I wrote about back at the time during the Patreon blog for Audrey's disappearance. And nothing has changed since then. These searches don't change anything. And people who have sent me messages since then, and all the commenting all of you have done discussing Audrey's disappearance, I continue to believe that she did take some different direction home, but she's not in a body of water. She ran off the road on land and did not run into a body of water. I've convinced myself that because she knew her one child was coming home and was going to end up at the grandparents', that she figured, why bother going home? I'm just going to drive there, wait there, because I'm going to end up driving there anyway tomorrow or later today. I'll just go straight there. Maybe she knew where the key was. She could go in. She could get some sleep. They come home. The grandparents come home with her child, her daughter, and it just seems more efficient. But in the process of doing that, she ran off the road, whether she fell asleep or, had some medical event. Granted, she was young, but you never know. Maybe she swerved to miss a deer or something and ran off the road into some thick brush and just hasn't been found yet. I continue to sign up for that theory. Now, of course, the problem is that it's a lot harder to find cars on land than it is to find cars in lakes and rivers. And the reason is because any road only has so many lakes and rivers beside it or by it. Whereas, 99.9% of the area that you're traveling from one place to another, unless you're driving from the Keys back to the mainland of Florida, other than that, you're mostly going by land. And I think it's one of the reasons, for example, going back to Adventures with Purpose, that they've been very great at finding cars in water, but they haven't found any cars on land. Now, I know they're scuba specialists, but they also seem to be specialists about looking at routes, where a person was, where that person was allegedly going, and then looking at that map and saying, well, you know what? If they didn't make this turn, they could have gone down here. And that's how they end up finding these cars. And it's spectacular. But that's a lot harder to do if between A and B, there are no bodies of water and there are no lakes or anything else. It's just land. Because it's 100%, you have to search 100% of the route. In contrast to when you only have a body of water, you only have to look at 1% of the route. So I am still signed up for that. There's nothing that I've heard since then to change my mind. I completely reject the idea that there was any sort of foul play regarding Audrey's disappearance. I know I heard this thing about her purse, but I can't figure out why, if her husband is involved, that he could successfully figure out how to hide a Jeep, but couldn't also remember to throw her purse away. So that seems weird. That's why I don't subscribe to foul play. As far as her getting carjacked, there's no facts to dispute that, to undermine that idea. It just seems so random that, once again, I'm not saying it's not possible, but it certainly should not be in the higher percentage. The fact is, just as a fact of motor vehicle statistics, there are more people who are running off roads and wrecking due to falling asleep and cardiac arrest or heart attacks or strokes than there are people getting carjacked, statistically. So that should be considered. So the search continues for Audrey Herron. Where I put it, I don't like to put superlatives on disappearances. However, I do look at them in the way of, We have those disappearances where we're pretty sure what happened, even though it hasn't been proven yet. And then way on the other end are those disappearances where we have no idea. Like maybe we might throw Jason Jolkowski in there. Audrey's to me is somewhere in the middle. It's right in the bell curve, right in the middle of a lot of disappearances where you can probably narrow it down to a couple different choices, but you're really not sure which choice is correct. It's not really mysterious, and it's not non-mysterious. It's somewhere, it's somewhere in the middle of that puzzle graph. So Audrey Herron, they're looking for it, and it's great that they're even doing these things 20 years later. It's certainly better than nothing. Robert says, "Hi Ed, how is it going?" It's going pretty good, Robert. You should know though that I showed up 2 minutes late to this show tonight, so I'm a little mad at myself. I'm trying to make it up by doing a really even better than usual live show tonight, Robert. That's what I'm trying to do. Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Moving on, another update. Once again, it's weird how I do an update episode and then a week later, all these things happen. Lindsay Shobeluk, this was the disappearance that I talked about that I presented for the Unfound Now that came out at the end of March. If you are a member on this YouTube channel, and for the rest of you, it came out at the beginning of April. This is a young woman who disappeared from Chillicothe, Ohio, and remains have been found, and they are hers. So I'm going to now read an article written about this, and I was very fortunate that within the last few weeks, I've had a local, I'm not going to mention this person's name, but has kind of kept in touch with me, knows the area, explaining some things to me about the area that goes above and beyond what I talked about in the Unfound Now. And so this person has also sent me a map of what this person thinks where the remains were found and where her car was. And I'm going to get to that in a moment. So to that listener/viewer, if you are watching tonight, thank you for that. But yes, her remains have been found by accident by some hunters in the area. And I'm going to read this article. Once again, many articles about Lindsay's remains being found. I simply picked one out that I thought is a good one. The Ross County Sheriff's Office posted a statement from Sheriff George W. Lavender Jr., what a name, on Monday, May 9th, 2022, that their office received information from hunters that there was an abandoned suspicious campsite in the woods in southwestern Chillicothe, Ohio. The sheriff stated the deputies responded to the area with assistance from the Ross County Search and Rescue Team. While searching the area, they located human remains, which were sent to the Montgomery County Coroner's Office for identification. The Facebook post was then updated on Tuesday, May 10th, 2022, with the information that the remains found the day before had been identified as belonging to Lindsay Shobeluk. The 28-year-old disappeared on Wednesday, February 23rd, 2022 in Chillicothe. Dateline featured Lindsay's case in the Missing in America digital series in March. Lindsay abruptly left her job at a tattoo shop that February afternoon, which her father John and stepmother Sue Ellen told Dateline was extremely out of character for their daughter. The day after Lindsay went missing, Thursday, February 24th, her car was found on Windy Ridge Road, about 30 minutes away on a deserted road. Sue Ellen told Dateline in March that it's pretty much a road out in the rural areas and you don't really go on it unless you need to be on it. Lindsay's keys were found near the vehicle, and all of her other belongings like her license, purse, and phone were left behind at her home. Extensive searches were conducted in February by the Ross County Sheriff's Office but came up empty. Lindsay leaves behind 2 young boys. The sheriff's post stated that the case remains under investigation and that anyone with further information should contact the Ross County Sheriff's Office Detective Bureau at 740-773-1186. Now, I will tell you, to me, my opinion, and as you know, I've been doing those Unfound Nows for about a year and a half now, almost 2 years now. But I do a little theorizing on, like, at the end, I'll just state some things that I notice, and I just take for granted that the person's family could be watching, and I'm trying to give them some hints, some tips about what to be doing, and that sometimes does stray into maybe people reading my mind to know maybe when I'm actually thinking about this disappearance. I have to tell you, this doesn't surprise me at all. I think that, not just myself, but all of you who have been following Unfound for a very long time, when we hear about anybody, man or woman, who doesn't matter on the age, but who leaves work without telling anybody, really nebulous on what he or she is doing, and then you find out that their license, their purse or wallet or phone, other things they might usually have with them, uh, is left there at home, but they're gone, the car's gone. Or you might say, somebody that has some health issue that they have to take medication every day. For example, a person with diabetes where you have to take your insulin every day. When we start hearing things or reading things, seeing things like this, we know what we think. And most of the time we end up being right. That something is going on with that person. Why that is, we're not sure. Maybe now that they know Lindsay is deceased, maybe now they'll be able to go back and take a look and say, well, this was going on in her life. That was going on in her life. And man, we really didn't know that it was bothering her that much. Maybe. But what I did read though, and maybe I missed this the first time around. I don't remember talking about it in the Unfound Now, but something that she did have some sort of health condition going on at the time. I'm not sure it was a physical thing or a mental thing. To me, given her actions that day, it would sound to me to be more something, a mental issue, some sort of depression issue, mania issue, bipolar issue, anxiety issue, something like that. But I don't know that for a fact. It very well maybe it was a physical issue that then led to her having mental issues. Maybe she had been recently diagnosed with cancer. That is just an example. And of course, that would make anybody nervous. And who knows how your mind, where your mind might go. But given what the facts were, the way I understood them in late March, unfortunately, this resolution does not surprise me. I don't believe that there was any foul play here. Now this person who has sent me information, this local, has told me that the rumor mill is going around that there's some deputy or cop who lives in this area who's connected to these other women who have gone missing, who are died, or I don't know what to make of that. I don't know. Really, if this person or any other person was involved in Lindsay's death, then why just leave her sitting out there? Why not hide her? No, not dig a hole. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Now, on the other hand, what also doesn't make a lot of sense to me is the way this local described it to me is where she was found was not far from her car, maybe within a mile and a half. So how was it, the searches were done in the area. Why wasn't she found the first time around? Did they not go that far? The way it's described, as I just said in this article, it says an abandoned suspicious campfire in the woods. They didn't see a suspicious campfire in the woods the first time around. I just don't know. This is once again one of these situations, and I think that every time I go to talk about this, you hear my hesitancy, even though I do end up talking about it anyway, that it's amazing how bad these searches can be. I'm not there. I don't like to tell other people how to do their jobs, but you keep seeing this over and over and over. This is one of the reasons that I still insist that Jason Landry is not very far from his car, and they've just missed him down there in Texas or over there in Texas. They've just missed. And if they can miss a girl a young woman, I should say, and she's 28 years old, a young woman who was only a mile and a half away, she wasn't caught up in, she didn't get tangled up in some brush. She didn't fall down off a cliff. It was a campsite. So it sounds like she had made a fire there or something, and they missed it, which must have been in some clearing. I don't know how you explain these things. But Lindsay Schobelach is deceased, and it's very sad, leaving behind 2 children. But this is how quickly it can happen. This is how quickly, 1 minute she's at her job at this tattoo shop. The next minute she's running out of there, going home, dropping off all her stuff and driving off. And of course, we have to remember she also stopped at this ATM. And as I stated at the time, my first impression about her stopping at this ATM, there was no allegation that she was with somebody or somebody was forcing her to go to this ATM and get money out, as sometimes happens when people get kidnapped. My guess is she went to get cash so she could buy something that nobody would be able to track. Instead of her using her card, she would know that if she's planning on killing herself, harming herself, that one of the first things people will do are check her credit card, and they'll be able to say, well, she went to a Walgreens and bought this, and that's a bad sign. So I think that she went somewhere, bought something with cash that she could use to overdose. And we have to remember, there are, of course, many, 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 many things that you buy legally that if you take enough of them, they'll kill you. And something that I always say, water is good for you, but too much water is bad. It's called drowning. So we have to remember that. But that's what hit me when I covered this disappearance back in March as an Unfound Now, that she was just trying to cover up where she was going to be going to buying something, and then she was going to go out in the woods. And of course, now we know that that's what she did. Shauna says, hi, Ed, how are you? So I wonder if Lindsay just wanted to leave this earth, but who knows? Shauna, that's what I believed back in March. I went, in so many words, I kind of said that, I guess, in covering her disappearance, some of my comments at the end. And now the way this article describes the situation, that's that she wanted to leave this earth the way you put it, it does seem like that. Why that is, I don't know. Hello, Deborah. Good to see you. Deborah with the green name. She is a member. If you would like to have a green name too and get some special benefits here on YouTube, just go down and hit the join button right there for the low price of 10 cents a month. Deborah says, stupid question. How do I pay my subscription again? It must be due. Deborah, I think it's just automatically deducted. Maybe Cherie, you can help Deborah out with that a little bit. Unless your card is expired, I think it would just take it out automatically, Deborah. I think. Yeah. And there you go, Cherie. Thank you, Cherie. And look at all the emojis. Those are all the emojis you get to use when you are a member of this channel. It's the sunset emoji, the disc golf emoji, the unfound magnifying glass emoji, and the heavy metal emoji. Shauna says, I feel COVID has made people crazy. Well, I think it has for some people, Shauna. People don't like to be cooped up. Now, here in Florida, I got to tell you, since about July of 2020, it's for the most part been like, regular times. And of course, it really is like regular times now. Other places, not so much. But, there are conflicting statistics, Shauna, about what COVID and people being cooped up and what that has done to people. So there's some figures that say suicides went up. Some people say, statistics say they went down. I know for me, it hasn't affected even when it started, didn't affect me at all because I work from home. I'm a bit of a hermit anyway. I really don't get sick anyway. So of all people in the world, I probably one of the least affected people. Most people are not like me. So moving on, I have to talk about this, and I've already discussed it. So this is just a follow up, and I know all of you know about this. I need to talk about Casey White and Vicky White. This is just, I don't know what to tell you. I'm going to read another article. This is a usual live show tonight in which I'm reading so many articles, but I want to make sure I cover all of the information. The Alabama corrections official who died of a gunshot wound to the head after a dramatic police chase with her escaped inmate lover could be heard screaming in a desperate call to 911 made in her final moments. In a 7-minute audio recording released by Evansville Central Dispatch, Vicky White can be heard apparently panicking as cops in Indiana closed in Monday. The dramatic ending came after she and Casey White, the murder inmate who she allegedly sprung from an Alabama prison, spent 11 days on the run amid a frantic manhunt. The 56-year-old assistant director of corrections was found with a gunshot wound to the head after the pair's Cadillac, and I think it was a Cadillac SUV, crashed in Evansville, Indiana, with Casey White immediately jumping from the wrecked vehicle to declare that Vicky had shot herself. "Oh my God," she can be heard exclaiming in the first seconds of the 911 audio before screaming, "Let's get out and run." The recording captures the wail of sirens as police apparently swarmed the scene, followed by several shrieks from Vicky White before she suddenly fell silent. Police officers arriving at the scene can be heard shouting, "She's got a gun in her hand," followed by, "She's breathing though, and she's got her finger on the trigger. She doesn't look conscious," an officer can be heard saying as officers finally approached her in the flipped vehicle. "Yeah, it looks like it exited on the top of her head," he said, meaning a bullet. After some speculation about whether or not White had truly taken her own life, Vanderburgh County Coroner Steve Lockyer late Tuesday declared her manner of death a suicide, saying she had died of a single gunshot wound to the head. Her death capped off a turbulent 11-day in which the fugitive lovebirds appeared to be playing cat and mouse with the authorities, regularly swapping out vehicles that would later be found abandoned as they headed further and further north from the prison in Florence, Alabama, where they had absconded, great word, on April 29th. Police in Evansville finally got a line on the pair at a nearby hotel where officers laid in wait for the two. It should be lay in wait to leave before finally closing in on them Monday afternoon. Vicky White was taken to a hospital after the doomed police chase, while Casey White was extradited back to Lauderdale County to face a June trial for his original charge, the brutal 2015 stabbing of a 58-year-old woman. Lauderdale County Chief Rick Singleton said Tuesday that Casey White has no remorse for his lover's death. In video released by the sheriff's office late Tuesday, the towering 6'9" inmate can be seen calmly walking as he is accompanied by guards to be transported back to prison. Vicky White, who had an unblemished record working at the prison for 25 years, signed the inmate out for a bogus courthouse appointment before the two made a run for it together. Authorities later said they had secretly engaged in a phone relationship for at least 2 years, and Vicky gave Casey perks like extra food in prison. Crazy, crazy, crazy story. And in another story, it's not in this one, but in this 7-minute so she called 911 while they're getting chased. Why she called 911? I don't think she ever technically did talk to the dispatcher, but she called 911. But in the 911 call, you can actually hear one of them say that damn or some swear word motel, meaning they knew once they were getting chased, that somebody at that motel where they had just been had tipped off authorities. They knew that. They knew it. And of course, they got into the chase, and there was a big wreck, and she shot herself. So let's see what everybody's saying, and then I will make a few comments on this. Linda says she was conned by a con. Deborah says sad. Cherie, Charlie Bravo. Love will kill you, kids. Don't do it. Cherie, always the cynic. And grief, Linda, yeah. Cherie says, I think Vicky was the mastermind. Some reporters don't want to call it what it is, but because she's law enforcement are regular humans who make bad choices sometimes. Deborah, agree, but I read her husband died, and maybe this is why the bad decision. Sean, I feel Vicky was lonely and fell in love. Linda, Deborah, this relationship had been going on for 2 years, long before her husband died. Deborah, yeah, he was sick. I understand watching someone die is hard. Cherie says, James, who worked at the car wash, tried to tell law enforcement 5 days before, but no one would listen. He saw them on CCTV. Just like they were out there, just living like not trying to hide out, not going to some, for example, national forest with camping equipment and trying to live off the land for a while, or trying to change their disappearance. They're getting their car washed. They're going to motels. I got to say, if this was planned, it wasn't planned very well. I mean, who comes up with the plan? Okay, I'm going to get you out of here, and then we're just going to steal cars for the rest of our life. I think all of us had the idea that if this was planned as long as they thought, then it might be some time before they. But that doesn't seem to be the situation. It seems like they kind of were winging it after she got him out. Maybe they really didn't think they were going to be that successful. Maybe they thought that they were just going to get caught right as he was walking out the jailhouse doors. Maybe, I don't know. And once they get out, oh my, we're out here and we got away with it. What are we going to do now? Maybe. But some of you said, that, could it be that Vicky was the mastermind of this? I don't know. I don't think that that's the way many people are going to look at it, because people like this, Casey guy is a predator. And once again, you have to remember Casey White was just in his 30s. Vicky just happened to be the same age as the woman that Casey had stabbed. Coincidence? I don't know. But given that she had an unblemished record for all those years, you got to believe that Vicky was going through something that, was causing her to not make the greatest decisions in the world. Very well could have been grief. Maybe her husband, he died in February or wherever it is. Maybe he had some terminal illness for a year or something. I really don't know. But living with that, taking care of somebody like that, and then also having to do your job, going to work and seeing this person you love deteriorate, could certainly have an effect on somebody. And if you don't have anybody to talk to, you end up going to work, and who do you end up talking to? Your coworkers or a prisoner. And somebody like Casey White is going to automatically see prey, Prey. He's automatically going to see somebody who can be taken advantage of. All he has to do is identify with her. Oh, yeah, I've been there. Oh, that's so sad, Vicky. Oh, and there she's found a shoulder to cry on, forgetting that he's a killer, because she's just looking for, the calm in the storm. This guy provides it, and before you know it, she's helping him escape prison. And as I said last week, I wondered, and I got this wrong, I guess, that, I had the idea that even by the time I did the live show last week, that she was probably dead. That as he got out of there, he killed her. I was wrong. And it seems like, from what I can tell with the 911 calls, is that she never really did have that aha moment. That moment where she said, I shouldn't be doing this. Boy, I think this was a bad idea, until it was too late. And you heard on the 911 call, she was the one who said, let's get out and run, not him. So even at that point, she was trying to get away with Casey. She didn't call 911 and say, you know what? I'm that prison guard. I made a huge mistake. I'm with Casey White. That's not what she said. In fact, like I said, I don't think that she spoke to the 911 dispatcher at all. Maybe the plan was that, maybe they didn't get to it in time. Maybe she was going to claim that she was like a prisoner and she was his hostage. But it never got to that because they were getting chased in the car wreck. That's what I would have to guess, that they were in the car. They figured out that somebody at the motel had told on them, and they were figuring, well, how are we going to get out of this? And maybe they came up, said, well, I'll pretend like I'm your prisoner and you're going to hurt me. But it never got to that. They just ran out of time. This is something that comes to mind. But wow. This is one of those stories I don't think we're forgetting it anytime soon. Especially considering, on top of everything else, she was just about to retire. It wasn't like she was a 30-year-old who had 25 years more work to go and was like, man, I don't think I'm going to be able to put up with this for that long. She was about to retire, and she did this. And 11 days after the day she should have retiring, she's in a truck that gets wrecked with a prisoner, with a felon, with a killer, and she shoots herself. Crazy, just unbelievable. Thank you. Deborah says, I'm a correctional officer. I did not know that, Deborah. Wow. Well, then give us some insight, Deborah, please. Maybe you did down here somewhere. Sheree, if you're on the run, do not stay in one motel for 2 weeks. Good grief. I had hoped they had a plan. Nope. Just stupid. Yes, I agree. Sure. They never went over 200 miles. Yep. Linda, she sold her house a month prior, withdrew lots of cash. She knew how to get him out unquestioned and killed herself when caught because she knew what prison would be like for her. Yeah. Deborah says, thanks. I retire end of the month. Deborah, you're not going to do anything crazy, are you? Being that you're retiring at the end of this month of May of 2020, you're not planning to do anything crazy. Don't do it, Deborah. Don't do it. Richard, sounds like she fooled just about everyone, even herself. Yeah, that's a good way to put it, Richard. Sheree, Casey has absolutely no power. She had the money, the keys, the car, the plan. She had orchestrated the plan. Of course, Casey's going to go along for the ride. So Sheree is putting it all on Vicky. Okay. Money, car, weapons, but he didn't. She is not a victim. Deborah, it's a hard job for anyone, especially being a woman, and almost all prisons are way understaffed. Linda, agree. You hit the nail on the head. He's not going to lose sleep over her. No, certainly not. Certainly not. From what they said, he showed no remorse or anything. Deborah says, yeah, he looked fine yesterday. Linda, my husband just started his 34th year as a correctional officer. Wow. Deborah says, thank you. Only 22 years here and you're retiring. Wow, Deborah. I need a plan like that. What are you talking about, Sheree? The audio is just fine. No, I was worried. Yeah, Deborah. Yeah, don't do anything rash, Deborah. You just retired and just do it. Take it nice and smooth. I don't want to be talking about you like 6 weeks from now on this live show about how you took off with some prisoner. Don't do it. Do that. So very sad. And particularly the people who thought they knew Vicky best just have to be completely beside themselves. beside themselves. So this is also, though, I think we have to keep in mind when we think about people doing other things like committing suicide. They say, well, that person would never do that. That person would have never left her children behind. And what I would say is if a correctional officer who's a day or so from retiring will help a killer escape and go on the run with him, then anything is possible at any time under certain circumstances for all of us. Unbelievable. Okay, moving on. Tomorrow night got delayed. Of course, I was supposed to do the show with Dr. Telesco a couple weeks ago, but something was going on with her. So tomorrow night on the Fischler College Education and School of Criminal Justice YouTube channel, I will be appearing from this room, and Dr. Telesco and I will be discussing the murder of Zoe Campos. I have already put together the outline. I've sent it to her. I've sent her some pictures. I've sent her pictures of Carlos Rodriguez's house. I've sent her the picture of Carlos Rodriguez. And with the help of Paula, thank you, Paula, I was able to get a copy of the written confession that Carlos wrote in November of 2018, where he does admit killing Zoe. And I have posted that in the discussion group for all of you to read. That was on a website called Scribd, SCRIBD, no E in there. Paula, thank you for directing me to it. I downloaded it. And now all of you can read it for yourselves. And I sent it to Dr. Telesco. So we will be talking about that tomorrow night. And I am going to talk about that specifically in a moment. So please don't forget, make an appointment, put it on your phone, put a little alarm on your phone for like about 6:50 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow evening to remind you that Dr. Telesco and I will be getting together. We decided to switch it up this month. I had asked her, would you like to cover a disappearance that's been solved? Because we've talked about so many that are unsolved that maybe it's about time we cover a disappearance that was solved. And how did that happen? Why did it happen? And of course, with Zoe Campuses, there's certainly a lot to talk about. Given that she was eventually found on Carlos Rodriguez's property, even though it had been searched back in 2013. So that's what we'll be talking about. Now, you should know it's one of those things where, another update after the update comes out. I've also been told once again by Paula, thank you, Paula, again, that Carlos Rodriguez's trial is due to start on August 15th. So what would that be? 3 months from now. And so we'll see what happens. We have this written confession, so I'm not sure what he's going to do. But maybe if you read the confession, you can kind of, maybe it does point you in a direction. Like I said, I'm going to talk about that, specifically the confession here in a moment. Now, you should know that Zoe's mother, although I've not spoken to her recently, she did invite me to go to Lubbock, Texas for this trial. We didn't know when it would be, but she said that I am welcome to go out there and sit in there as the trial happens if I would like. I've not talked to her about that since I just found out about this date, I think yesterday. So, I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but she and I did talk about it probably over a year ago. That was probably the last time that I spoke. So maybe I will be contacting her, not inviting myself out there, but, if she's heard anything about the trial other than the date, she can give me any more insight. So I will try to contact her and see what's up. So maybe I'll end up in Lubbock, Texas. I've never been there. Of course, we've covered one other disappearance that happened there. Jennifer Wilkerson that is still unsolved. So maybe that all can be combined or something. I don't know. Deborah says, turn 65 May 6th. Look at you, Deborah. Good for you. Crystal says, remind everybody to hit the thumbs up button. Yes, thumbs up, please. Stitching 10 for Puma. Sounds like it will be a good episode tomorrow. We'll try to catch it live. You do that, Puma. I would appreciate it. Tune in. Deborah, Linda, what state does your husband work in? All right, so we got some people in the discussion or in the live chat tonight who have connections to being corrections, people who prisons. Okay. So continuing, I do want to talk about the confession letter that he wrote back in 2018. Here is my impression of it. It seems to me like he's trying to still put it off all on Zoe. It reminds me a lot of what Dennis Bowman did. Remember, Dennis Bowman, although he did plead guilty to second-degree murder, technically did not admit to killing Andrea. What he said was he hit her and she fell some steps, and falling down the steps is how she died. If the steps had not been there, that she would have lived. So it's her fault for falling down the steps. It's not his fault for hitting her. Now, I'll tell you, I don't believe the stairs story at all. I think he just outright killed her. But this just shows you that even when you get a confession from somebody, a killer like this, that it's not quite them taking the blame. What they're really saying is, I was there and maybe I put into motion something in which I couldn't have predicted what would happen, but I didn't kill her. Or if I did, I had good reason to, even though I'm going to plead guilty. So this is it, and I'm not going to read the entire letter. I've posted it in the discussion group on Facebook, and it's now on the website too, on the Zoe Campos page, if you want to go read it there. That what he says was that he puts it on, he says she was the one who brought the marijuana over to his place. And it wasn't just marijuana, it was that synthetic marijuana that we have heard so much about, that is lethal, that it does a lot more to the human brain than regular marijuana does. We've heard a lot about people dying from synthetic marijuana, on and on and on. Well, Carlos claims that he invited her over and she brought it with her. And then they started doing this marijuana, and he started tripping. She was laughing, and then it sounded like she was going to leave, and then he started perceiving her as a demon. And because of that, he then went over and killed her, choked her out. That's in a nutshell. Now, of course, before he gets to that, he says, well, I'm taking the responsibility for this, and I now see that this was the wrong thing, and I feel really guilty about it, and yada, 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 yada. But then when he finally gets to it, what he's saying is, well, she was the one that brought the marijuana over, and she's the one that made me take this, and I didn't know what this was going to do to me. It's her fault that she put me in this situation in which I didn't know what I was doing. Now, you can read the confession and try to, decode that for yourself, but that's what I got out of it. He blames her. He blames her for bringing the synthetic marijuana. If she hadn't done that, then he wouldn't have done that. And so she shouldn't have made him, but he felt obligated to. And of course, you know what this was all about? It was all about sex. He wanted to have sex with her. He was happy that she wanted to come over, and we're supposed to believe that she was the one that. Does it not make more sense that he invited her over and he had the stuff? So, but you can read that for yourself. But I continue these situations where killers give these confessions. It's not just a write out. Yeah, I killed her. I did. The stairs killed her. The marijuana made me do it. The dog ate my homework. Those types of things, and I hate it. I hate it. Hate it. Hate it. Now, granted, it's good that her remains have been found, and it's good that he's going to be going to trial. Now, I will tell you another thing. And there's Paula. Paula has been the one who has put me on to some of this information. Paula, thank you. Paula says he sent the confession to the media. I don't think that's what he told law enforcement. I guess we'll find out in the trial, Paula, but the confession is certainly self-serving, for sure. You have to remember something. The only reason that finally he was brought to justice, or at least taken into custody, is because he was stalking some other woman and was charged with that. And in the process of, they probably remembered, oh yeah, this is that guy that was with Zoe Campos the night she disappeared, and they put some pressure on him, and then he started spilling his guts. But it sounds to me like he was spilling the guts while also pointing the finger at Zoe. Now, Paula, if I can say Paula, tells me that Carlos's defense attorney is pretty shrewd. He's a good one. So we shall see where this all goes. I just, Paula's saying jailhouse snitch. Yeah, he writes about that in the confession, right? I just urge everybody to read it and take what they can out of it. It's not too often that you get to see a killer's written confession, whether it's to the police or the media or to a family or anything else. So this is a unique situation. And I don't know, Paula, do you even have any idea, a good feeling of if this confession is really like out? I really don't even know. I really don't know if it's been widely distributed. Have any other podcasts posted it on their pages or anything? I really don't know. Either way, Dr. Telesco and I will be talking about this tomorrow night, all of it. I will go through, Zoe and what happened that day and that night in their car, this chase that was involved and a guy dumping the car and running off. I'll go through all of that, and we'll eventually get around to Carlos being caught, Zoe being found, the confession. We're going to cover it all tomorrow night, myself and Dr. Telesco. Now, she has told me she's working by herself tomorrow night. Her assistant, Brandon, graduated. So she told me I'm working solo tomorrow night. I think we'll be just fine. And there's Marlene. Hello, Marlene. Had to take Milo out. I'm guessing that's your dog, Marlene. Cherie says Carlos is going to lose. Deborah says sounds interesting. Cherie, even if he was under the influence, which I have no doubt about, you still can't kill someone. At the very least, he's guilty of manslaughter. And maybe that's what his lawyer will be going for. Linda, Ed, I know you lived in Vegas. Did you see where they are finding the bodies from the lake? Yeah, I talked about that last week, Linda. Yes, I've seen it. It was sent to local media, Paula says, then very quickly a statement from his attorney. Haven't seen it anywhere else. Well, then I'm glad we got our hands on it, Paula, and thank you for directing me to it. I like it when we get stuff that nobody else has publicized. All right. Now, so that's that. And if you haven't gotten enough of Zoe Campos's murder tonight, tune in tomorrow night where you will hear about it for a full hour with Dr. Telesco and I. Once again, Fischler College of Education and School of Criminal Justice. Fischler, their channel, as has been all of the other shows. Of course, eventually it does make its way to our website. I'll link to it. I'll have a special page for it. But if you want to watch it live, you got to go to their page. Okay. Next thing, and I wanted to just kind of give a heads up to all of you. And I've already had a discussion with about this. And I've also kind of given a heads up to the rest of my assistants. Sheree is usually the one that I bounce things off first regarding any changes or additions that might be made to everything that Unfound does. But I'm thinking about changing this live show up a little bit. The reason I'm thinking about this is because, thank you for posting that, Sheree. It's Marlene saying, "Hey Ed, he is our kitty. You took Milo, your kitty, out. He's spoiled rotten. He wants to be a night owl. He's supervised." That's pretty funny, Marlene. But getting back to what I was going to talk about, I think I'm going to be switching the live show up a little bit. The reason I'm going to do it is this. The live show continues, it's been the same pretty much since the beginning. This live show started in like October of 2017, back when I lived down in Madeira Beach. And some of you maybe remember it used to be on Tuesdays, and then I moved it over to Wednesdays. I forget why. And it's pretty much been this same format all this time. And I just think that it's due, just even the Corvette gets a facelift. And it just seems like maybe the show has become a little stagnant. I love doing it. It's going to continue to happen. And I know all of you tune in. If you miss it in the live show, you watch it in the rerun and everything else. But the fact is that the growth of the live show has kind of stagnated. Between the views we get during the live show and then the views that people tune in to after because they can't watch it, it usually ends up being between 300 and 400 views, which is not bad, but you have to remember the channel has 14,000 subscribers. And the episodes, when I post them, they easily get over 1,000 views. So it causes me to think that there are some what I call inefficiencies going on. So I think what's going to start happening is that you moved it for the camel. Yeah, maybe I did, Linda. That is funny. That is something that I think occurred after I moved it to Wednesdays, but that would be funny if that was the way it worked, Linda. Good one. But I think you should be prepared that maybe starting this summer, that this show is going to get moved to Mondays. And what is probably going to happen is that this show is going to become something more along the lines of what you just saw. Me talking about these news stories that really Unfound is not covered. We didn't do Casey White and Vicky White going on the run. It's going to maybe turn into more of a true crime news show. And probably a lot of this stuff where I talk about what's going on Unfound is going to get moved to the actual episodes that come out on Fridays. And I know that's going to make those episodes longer. Oh, well. But I'm going to try to make a definitive difference between the two of them. Because I think, once again, this is something that I'm thinking about. Sheree and I have talked about it. And no, Linda, Think Tank will stay. Think Tank, nothing's going to happen to the Think Tank. I'm just about this live show. That then what's going to happen is I will hear, you will see me, we'll be talking back and forth, but it will mainly be about true crime news. Things are going on out there, recent disappearances, weird stories like, we just talked about Casey White, Vicky White, anything that I can find to talk about. But I won't be talking so much about updates to any of Unfound's cases. If I'm going to do that, I'm going to do it during the actual episodes on Fridays. Then what's going to happen probably is that once I do the live show on Monday nights, I actually have the ability to then download this file and separate the audio out from the video. And this may also become a podcast. So we will have what it'll still be called Unfound Live, because it will be live for anybody who wants to tune in. But it will be a true crime show talking about general true crime news. But when it's done, then after like 11 o'clock, 11:30 at night, I will download the file and then I will upload the audio to Spotify, thus starting a new podcast. And I haven't decided yet where it's just going to go on the same RSS feed as the Friday episodes, or I'm going to start a totally new RSS feed just for this. But the reason I'm moving it to Mondays is because then it will split up the week. So it would be like Friday, like Tuesday, Friday, Tuesday, Friday, Tuesday, Friday, Tuesday. In contrast to leaving this on Wednesday, and I probably wouldn't be able to upload it till Thursday. And so then it would be Thursday, Friday, Thursday, Friday, Thursday, Friday. And it seems too bunched up. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I think. And because once again, something other that's important in all of this is that even though, the YouTube channel does fine. We make some money off it every month, but really, I'll be honest with you, the super chat contributions, fantastic. And I appreciate all of it. Thank you very much. But really, the main way that Unfound makes money on the YouTube channel is from the advertisements that are put in the actual episodes that are uploaded. That is how a majority of the money is made. From an advertiser standpoint, this show really does not make a lot. So I'm looking at that. But it's a good show. I know you'll enjoy it. I enjoy doing it. It's very unique. So I think that it can get more attention and it can have more of an impact if I also put it on Spotify, where Unfound already gets like 90,000 downloads a month. So just be prepared for that. Now maybe this time next week I'm saying, the hell with that, I'm not going to do that. But it was just something that occurred to me within the last few days. Unfound is doing very well on Spotify. I think it's going to continue to do well there. Being able to strategically place ads in the Friday episodes is certainly helping. And I will be able to do that with the audio from this show, uploading it to Spotify as well. So just be prepared for that. So for all of you that like to tune in live to talk to me, and for me to talk, and I'll continue to talk about things going on in my personal life, and you'll get to ask me questions. But I'm probably going to move a lot of the what we might call unfound news stuff to the actual Friday episodes and make this something totally separate from that. So they are two distinct, different things. So I hope all of your Monday nights are free. Now, Monday is also convenient for me because Monday is a little bit of a day off for me anyway. Of all the days of the week that is the slowest, Monday is usually the only one that's kind of slow. So then I can put this in a day where there's not usually a lot of stuff going on anyway, because I'm done writing the Patreon blog. I've done the think tank and all of this, and I really don't start creating new episodes until Tuesday. So there's always that Monday space where I can do some research, do a little organizing and things, going back through people that I talked to in the past and see what they're doing now. But this Monday nights, I think, will be good for the show, even though it will get in the way of Monday Night Football and all of that. You moved it for the camo. Well, the think tank, but the think tank's not going to be changed. It will always be on Sunday evenings. Marlene says, I love the episodes being longer. Well, thank you, Marlene. Deborah says, True Crime News sounds great too. Thank you, Cherie. I like that true crime news and longer episodes. Karen, I still want to hear about disc golf. I will still talk about some of my personal stuff, Karen. I promise you. We're not going to just go right into it. This live show is always going to be more personal than the Friday episodes ever are. So you don't have to worry about that. Linda Ed, where should I email you about issues being locked out of the updates? Unfound Podcast at gmail.com. It sounds like you're having the same problem that somebody else is, Linda. Unfoundpod gmail.com. Email me what's going on. Keith, yeah, there's Monday Night Football. Sorry, Ed. I'm sure the ladies don't mind, but us guys need their football. Well, I'm just going to call it like they do counter programming for the Super Bowl, like they used to do Victoria's Secret, runway modeling or something opposite the Super Bowl, or they used to have the Puppy Bowl on other channels to combat the Super Bowl. Just think this is what happens. Just think of Unfound Live as the alternate programming to football. So there you go. But I just wanted to warn you, all of that. It's an idea. It's a way to make this live show more efficient, more part of what we're trying to do here. And like I said, it just feels that the show continues to be on the original framework that was from 4.5 years ago. And we know how much Unfound has changed. A lot more viewers, a lot more subscribers, 300 episodes. Now with Spotify and all these things, this was due for a change. Hey, even 50, even Corvettes get facelifts and Ferraris get facelifts and Mustangs get facelifts and they change into something else. That's the way I'm looking at this. But the essence will still be there. Sheree says, you're right. Some of us ladies prefer baseball. Well, there's Monday Night Baseball, I guess, as well. And like I said, even if you miss it, you'll be able to hear it on the Spotify channel anyway. So if you miss it, you just won't be able to see me, but you'll get to hear it and you'll get to hear me reading people's comments and live chats, comments being made and everything. All right. Just wanted to give you a heads up. I never want to surprise you with anything that's too big of a change. I like to give you some time to think about it and give me any feedback. All right. One more piece of news, something that I'm going to read, and then we'll go to Friday's episode. A man who strangled his girlfriend. See, this is the type of story that I will probably include in the, if we're going to do this in the new type of live show. This is a perfect kind of story. A man who strangled his girlfriend died of a heart attack while burying her body in the backyard, investigators say. Joseph McKinnon's body was found on Saturday in the small town of Trenton, South Carolina, after neighbors reported an unconscious man. Emergency services were called out, but could not revive him. As sheriff's deputies investigated the 60-year-old's death, they found a body wrapped in bin bags in a newly dug hole. It turned out to be his partner, Patricia Dent, 65, said a statement from the Edgeville County Sheriff's Office. A postmortem found that she had been strangled, and neighbors recalled seeing McKinnon digging a hole in the yard the day before. McKinnon died of a heart attack, according to an examination of his body. Authorities said it appeared he'd nearly finished filling in the grave when he put down his spade, walked away, and collapsed. Both deceased lived at the same house on Tanglewood Drive, according to authorities. Ms. Dent's twin sister, Pamela Briggs, told Fox Carolina, I would say a nightmare, and I want to wake up. And it's a dream. I know it's not. This is reality and life, and a big part of me is gone, and now I'm going to have to live with that. If only more of these suspects in these disappearances would have heart attacks too while they're trying to get rid of their victims, right? Like the David Perrys of the world. But I think the reason, of course, it's a bizarre story, but I think this story tells us all we need to know about the man said type of disappearances. I'm pretty sure that this is what happens in a lot of them. Guy kills woman, then figures out how to get rid of her, whether digging a hole in the backyard or throwing her in the trunk and driving miles and miles away, throwing her into a lake, throwing her into a garbage bin. It's just that this guy happened to get caught because he had a heart attack. And if he hadn't had this heart attack happen, who knows what would have gone on? Yeah, maybe the neighbors would say, yeah, we saw him digging a hole in the backyard. Maybe he would have gotten caught quickly anyway, but who knows? Carlos Rodriguez got away with it for 5 years. But you have to imagine, had he not died of this heart attack, what would the story have been? Patricia Dent disappears, and the man in her life, her boyfriend, Joseph McKinnon, just says, I don't know, I woke up this morning and she was just gone. I just don't know what happened to her. Probably that's what he would have said. But I think what we also can learn from a disappearance or a death like this, a murder like this, and where the guy gets caught, even though he's not going to stand trial or anything, it also shows that in the man said type of disappearances, the first choice should be that the guy put the woman on their own property. Here we have a situation just like that. What are the odds? I mean, he could have had this heart attack while digging a hole 10 miles down the road, but he didn't. He had a heart attack digging in his backyard. I think that this should show us that maybe more than we realize, that the man said type of disappearances, Rosemary Rapp, Marion Hurley, and all the others, that more of these women may be right on their own property that they shared with this guy than we know. I'm certainly open to the idea of a couple of them, but maybe I'm underestimating that. Because we know that Andrea Bowman was found on her parents' property. We know Carlos Rodriguez, Zoe Campos was found on his property. It just seems like we're starting to build a body of work here, body of evidence, whatever you want to call it, that starts to point more and more to the idea that when we have these types of disappearances, that the remains will be found right on that property somewhere. No matter if it's acres and acres of land or a little postage stamp like where Carlos Rodriguez lived. Very sad story. Feel bad for Patricia Dent and her family, but this probably helps the rest of us get more insight into what actually goes on behind the scenes when a man does kill his girlfriend or his wife or somebody like that. Puma says, following true crime is my sport. Paula says, that's swifter justice than the court system. Yeah. How did that work, Paul? I mean, if you're inclined to believe, for those of you out there in some afterlife, he's out there thinking, I'm going to get away with this crime. Maybe I'm eventually going to answer for it in the afterlife, but that's going to be way down the road. And boom, one moment he's digging a hole for his murdered girlfriend, and the next he's being judged. Crazy. It's just, and he's probably thinking, had I not killed her, I might have actually gotten to heaven. Once again, if you believe in that type of thing. So bizarre. But I will tell you this. People probably should look into this guy's history. Joseph McKinnon's. Have any other women around him disappeared or something over the years? Might have to do that. Kathy said, there's Kathy. Look, Kathy, you've been kind of quiet tonight. I've loved baseball since about 10 many years ago. Talking baseball here. I like baseball, but my team's the Pirates. So what are you going to do? Deborah says, karma at its fastest. Karma at its finest. A lot of people going to the karma angle. Marlene, are you still going to be on YouTube with the new change? Absolutely, Marlene, for sure. Yeah, victim blaming at its finest. Yeah, we're still going to be on here, Marlene. Don't worry about that. I'm going to figure out a way to make it work, although there is an app called Spotify Live that I'm not familiar with at all, so I'm going to have to look into that. Maybe that might be a choice too. So there's that story, and maybe you also saw the entire story, but remember in the Gabby Petito murder, Brian Laundrie, of course, murdered her. that there was a belief that Brian Laundrie might have killed these two women who were found in Moab, Utah. Remember that? Their names were Kylan Schulte and Crystal Turner. Well, now the police think they know who killed these two women. Unfortunately, though, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, this guy has committed suicide. This guy's name, I'm going to give it the best shot I got. Adam Pinksowitz, something like that, is now the main suspect in these two women's murders. But he committed suicide not long after they were found. And it says the Pinksowitz worked at the same McDonald's as Turner, and he was previously identified as a person of interest who was being investigated, and then he committed suicide. So it seems that Brian Laundrie did not kill these two women, that it was just some weird of coincidence that Brian and Gabby were in the same area where these two women were at the same time. But it seems that two murderers were in this area at the time, Brian Laundrie and this Adam guy. But like I said, he has committed suicide, so he will not be answering for his crime of killing these two women. Linda says, my shepherd is Karma, named Karma. I always say to watch out because she will bite you in the butt. So there's that story too. It seems like these two women, they now know who murdered them too. Maybe he was stalking one of them and happened upon them and killed them. Okay. So let's get to this Friday's disappearance. It is the disappearance of Rhonda Smith. She disappeared from Noonan, Georgia on February 27th, allegedly, 1984. The guest is her cousin, Nancy Cunningham. The interview's already been done. It was done in audio and video. Nancy did a fantastic job. She is now the spokesman for the family because Rhonda's father is deceased and her mother is very old. And Rhonda did not have any brothers or sisters. So Nancy has taken over the job of speaking for the family, doing interviews and things, and appearing in articles wherever. And the name of this episode, the title of it, is A Tale of Two Stories. And the reason, of course, like A Tale of Two Cities, but different. And the reason it's called that is because we have two very important people in Rhonda's life who tell two different stories about something about the day of her disappearance. One has told one story, and the other person has said something totally different. And the two stories cannot be reconciled. And it's very important to try to figure out what is going on there. There is an additional connection to this disappearance. Now, you should know Rhonda went missing on February 27th. The truck she was driving, it was not hers. She was borrowing a truck from her fiance's business because her car was in the shop. Her car was found at the Lenox Square Mall in Atlanta. Well, what's weird about that is 19 years before that, in 1965, another missing woman's vehicle was found at the exact same mall. And that disappearance is also unsolved here in 2022. And that disappearance is the disappearance of Mary Shotwell Little. So you have to start thinking, is this just a coincidence? Or did somebody know, even Rhonda herself, about this disappearance from years before and decided to do some sort of copycat type of thing? So once again, this Friday, the disappearance of Rhonda Smith from Noonan, Georgia, allegedly February 27th, 1984. The title of it is A Tale of Two Stories. Nancy Cunningham, Rhonda's cousin, is the guest. And that will be out for all of you members on this channel tomorrow, sometime in video. And the rest of you, since you're not members yet, but you should be, it will come out in video and audio on Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern. And it's an episode. It's a little over 2 hours long. And I do talk at least a little bit about Mary Shotwell Little's disappearance, but I do not go into any of the specifics. You're going to have to do that yourselves. So that's all I got. Yes, you're so right, Kathy. Loved mine will be okay. So that's all I have for tonight. So I talked about my dad going home, talked about disc golf winning last weekend, gonna play weekend. Have to move some of the stuff back to the other room. Did anybody see Doctor Strange 2 yet? I didn't see anybody comment on that during the discussion tonight. The Crawford poll, Audrey Herron, Lindsay Shobalok, Casey White and Vicky White. They're not related. Dr. Telesco show tomorrow night. The live show is probably going to be changing. The confession that Carlos Rodriguez wrote. The guy who died while burying the woman he murdered. We talked about these two women. We now know who might have killed them, who were kind of connected to Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie. And we finished it up with this Friday's disappearance, the disappearance of Rhonda Smith. That's all I got. Long show. Of course, I started 2 minutes late and we're ending 3 minutes late. So I guess it all works out. Thank you all. Thank you for tuning in. Subscribe to this channel. Join 10 cents a month. Like this video. Give it a thumbs up. And you will see me if you watch the episodes now that they're on video. Maybe you'll see me on Friday. If not, you'll surely hear me. Good night.